Oh, welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel, and today we're looking at Ruth 2 verses 11 and 12, and this sequence still is a dialogue, the dialogue between Boaz and Ruth at the house, the bait. About the only thing we know about the house is it has water jars, and the water jars are being filled by the guys who work in the field, and Boaz has offered to Ruth, okay, drink whenever you're thirsty, have a drink. And it shows that Boaz is caring for his people and also caring for other people who are even strangers. So um, now, Ruth in the previous passage, look back to the previous video, has asked, why are you looking for to care for me? Why are you looking at me? Why are you? And and Boaz is saying, oh, I've heard a lot of things. So this is the explanation that we're getting now from Boaz as to, yeah, what what is his motivation to continue with the dialogue, to provide the water, to provide work, to provide food, and so forth. So, yeah, very, very interesting dialogue, and very nicely, I'd say, cultured uh, dialogue, cultured literature here. Very, very nice use of words and verb forms and so forth. And it's a conversation that is very well defined. Things are working, the author is working through things very carefully here, step by step, and so it's just a beautiful passage. So let's get to these two verses, verses 11 and 12. We're going to do this first in English for those of you who prefer English. Then we'll move into the Hebrew, phrase by phrase, and at the end we'll do a full-out Hebrew study. And if by then you have difficulty following, fine, as long as you're getting the English side of it here. So Boaz responded. The response here, same word that came in the first chapter when Jehovah responded. Okay, that's an. Okay, an. This is ayin nun. And this response then in the first chapter was, oh wow, the Shad, the El Shaddai, responded very negatively. We've seen the verb also at the start of this chapter 2, and that's where the servant, the guy in charge of the reapers, the workers, responds. So it's just simply answering a question. Very, very neutral, very, very even keel answer. Now, the same word comes here, and it's a respond. He answered. He responded. And it's in a sense, it's now being a contrast with what had happened with El Shad. Shad was tough on her, and now the response is lenient, is kind. So okay, so it's again, it's a contrast in what's happening. So Boaz responded, saying, "Everything you have done for your mother-in-law since your husband's death, a full report has been reported to me." Okay, well, who God, very interesting alliterative type. Two sets of verbs, one right in front of the other one with the same root. Actually, look almost identical. You have to look very carefully at the vowel point. You can see the difference between those two. And the first one is infinitive, and the second one is the indicative side of what you. It's actually reflexive. Okay, hofel. So the what you have, what is it here, has been reported. Okay, a report. Okay, hofel, and it says hugad, huged. That's the report, and then hugad has been reported to me. So and what Boaz is saying here, I have the full information set. I've heard everything there is to hear about what happened to you, what happened to the husband that died, what happened to your father-in-law, what happened, all the things that happened over there in Moab, and all the things that happened on the journey from there to here. It's all been reported to me. And of course, the only source really for all that information is Noemi. So Noemi has told all the other ladies in the village, in the town, and they've all reported this back to Boaz. So Boaz is very well informed as to everything that's been happening. So he's making his judgment, or his thought patterns are based on the reality of what's been happening in that place. So how you left your father and your mother, Left here is azav, that's to abandon. Okay, so you're willing to put that all behind you, your father, your mother, off. Incidentally, the same word is used in Genesis 2 when a man shall leave azav, his father and his mother. And the same thing here, you leave your father and your mother to go into a new place. So how you left your father and your mother and the land of your birth, okay, Eretz Modah, and then how you came to a people you didn't previously know. And the word shoshom, sort of the third day, the day before yesterday. It's just so in a sense, just very recently. We don't know whether we'll be able to read that very literally, but it was a brief time span. In other words, the harvest has started, everybody's busy, and nobody's sitting around. Things are happening quickly. So it could be. It seems the Hebrew seems to suggest just simply 3 days, but that's an approximation. We don't know if it's 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks or so, but it's a very brief span of time. And this is one of the idiomatic ways of Hebrew to state it. It's not the only place that this particular form is used. It's also used in numerous other places in the scriptures as to something that just happened to happen. Okay, so and then may Jehovah reward you, and this reward here is based on the Hebrew or the verb form of shalom. Shalom is a well-known word, of course, in Hebrew. Shalom means peace. But what is it that you have to ask yourself the question then? What is it that brings peace? Now, what is peace actually? And Yeshalom, this is the verbal form of it. Peace is when things are all in order, when things are put together the way they should be. And that's what you have here. May Jehovah reward you. May Jehovah make peace with you. May Jehovah set things in order so that you will have peace. Okay? May Jehovah reward you for all that you have done. Hashita. This is a very simple second feminine word for to do something. And then you receive a full reward. So it's kind of a progressiveness of what's happening here. First of all, it's just a very simple thing, and then it's a complete thing. So you go on to the full reward from Jehovah, God of Israel. Jehovah is repeated twice here. Jehovah at the start, and then also Jehovah, and then so it's you're defining it upwards. So you got just simply Jehovah here, and then who is this? This is Jehovah, God of Israel. This is the God of our people, the God who really sticks with us, the God who's brought us through the Exodus, the God who's with us all the way. So, and it's very interesting because in the vow that Ruth makes to Naomi in the first chapter, she's calling on Jehovah to stand by that vow, and it's interesting to see that here Boaz is calling on Jehovah to stand by the promises he's making. So may Jehovah do this for you. May the Jehovah do this for you. And one of the key reasons, and we find this this is the start of this whole process of where do you find refuge, and you find it under the wings, kanaf. Now, wings, of course, are a symbol of protection. Even Jesus would use this kind of example, talking about the hen who he's looking at Jerusalem, and he's going, oh, that you would be just like the hen who's gathering her chicks under her wings, okay, bringing those chicks under the wing to be protected. And he wanted to see the city to come under that kind of protection from God. He knew the city was due for destruction. And so he's lamenting the whole fact that, oh, wow, these people have abandoned the wings of God. They've headed out to other things, and they're not trusting in God, and the Lord will be destroying that city. So here, Boaz is saying, you'll be coming under his wings. The same word is used in the third chapter, and it talks about the Boaz's wings, that is the edges of his cloak. That's where Naomi tells Ruth, go over there, lift the edge of the cloak, and go sleep by his feet. that cloak isn't just to keep Boaz warm, it's a symbol of the protection that he's going to give to anybody who's there under that cloak. And so when Ruth comes and does that, she's saying very symbolically, I've come to find refuge. And so that cloak of Boaz is a symbol of his protection over her, but it's also very, very symbolic of the protection that Jehovah gives over his people. Okay, it's a protection that Jehovah, and it's also a recognition of the authority and the ability to give that cloak. Now, to give that to give that protection. In the life of Jesus, it was a very interesting time when Jesus was walking along with his disciples, and a woman with an issue of blood, a woman who really couldn't, had been to doctors and spent all of her money on doctors to try to solve this problem, hemorrhaging that just was not stopping. She comes up to Jesus, touches the edge of his cloak, and Jesus could feel the power going from him, and that was healing her. And he turns around and stops. Who touched me? And she's going, oh, she wants to hide in the crowd. She doesn't want to be pointed out and all this kind of stuff. But she was healed. And the healing then took place because she recognized the authority, the power, and the ability of Jesus to heal her. And it came from, the edge of his cloak, his wings in a certain sense. It's a Hebrew way of talking about the edge of your cloak. So it's your authority, your ability, your will to care for others, to heal others, and so forth. And so, very beautiful connection, very symbolic connection of what the wings of Jehovah mean, and also the edge of a person's cloak means in terms of authority and willingness to protect others. So it's a very beautiful story. Let's move on to looking at some of the Hebrew here. And Boaz responded. Okay, Ya'an, Boaz. Okay. This is Yod Ayin Nun. This is like the third or fourth time we see it in the story. We've seen it at the start, in chapter 1, at the last two verses, where Naomi's complaining. Oh, Ya'an Shad. the El Shaddai has been rough on me. He has responded very, very, very brusquely, very, he's treated me poorly. Okay? He sent ra on me. So that was a complaint then of Naomi at that point. When we get into the second chapter, Boaz asks a question of the guy who's taking care of the harvesters, and he says, "Okay, who's that?" And then he goes, Ya'an, and the young man answered. Okay, so it's just so this word also works just on a very, very even keel, a question and answer type thing. And we see it here. So Boaz responded or answered. So on the one side, that's we can take it at the same level as the young guy answering the question. He's just answering here. She has asked a question. She says, "Oh, why do you pay attention to me?" And then Boaz is answering. But also he's responding. So when we see this Ya'an, it's also in the sense of it's a response. And as we find out soon enough, it's a good response. Okay, whatever Shad was doing in a nasty way with Naomi, here Boaz is doing in a nice way for Ruth. So Ya'an, Boaz, of course, the man in strength. Vayomer lach, and he said to her, again, nice Miel accenting here. Vayomer lach, to her. Mapik, showing that this is helps us. It doesn't designate it as such, but it helps us to see that this is a third person pronoun suffix, feminine suffix here, to her. Okay, it said to her. Lamed is here. The lamed here is the preposition. Okay, to her. Hugad. Okay. Now this is these two are really quite interesting how they're paired up. And in Hebrew grammar, when you see this verb, so when you see verbs, one verb in front of the other one, that the first one's going to be has the function then of an infinitive. The second one's often has some kind of an indicative or response. So, and kind of I was just thinking of it this morning how to explain this. It's a little bit like like lobbying a volleyball. In other words, you first, pop it into the air. So who get, and then who got, boom, there it goes. Okay. So you take the verb, set it up, okay, like setting up your golf ball or setting up your volleyball, and so that's the first step of this process. Set up the verb and then send it on its way. So it's don't take that too far, but that's kind of how it works here. Who God, okay? It's here it is. This is the activity. This is what we're looking at, and who God, then it happens. Okay, so who God, it's been reported. The root behind this, if you look it up in Blue Letter Bible, it'll be there. It's actually a verb that's based on a preposition. Okay, the preposition is neged. And neged is to be in front of. Okay, neged, in front of. It's the same root that's used for ezer kenegdo, and that's the help that stands in front of him. Okay, that's in front of him, and that's the when God says that Adam didn't have a helpmeet, so the one who stands in front of him, and that was neged. Etzer kenegdo, his help that stands in front of him, okay, that belongs to him. So that's what you have here. Neged is somebody who's in front of you and somebody that's giving a full report on everything that's happened. So this is an in-person, in-face. If you want to get, stretch out everything that's happening in this particular verb right here, it's an in-person, face-to-face report. Okay, again, one standing in front of you giving a full report of what has happened. Okay, hugad. It's a hofel. Hofel is the reflexive side of hifel. Okay, hifel is causative, has caused to tell, and it has been caused to tell. Okay, so has been caused to reported, has been caused to reported. So these are all things just happening here from just the morphology of just what this particular verb includes. So lots of Hebrew is one of those languages that can say a whole lot with very few letters, and we find that happening here. Okay, hugad. Okay, it has been fully reported to me. Okay, a report has been reported to me. So whenever you see a surik or kibbutz, just start thinking reflexively. It's been reported to me. Okay, so passive or reflexive. Full report has been reported. Va ta ajibi, and has been you abandoned. Okay, you left. Azab is to Eli Eli lama azavachtani, why you abandoned me, but you have abandoned. Same verb that's also in Genesis 2 when the man, once he has his helpmeet, once he has the Isha, the woman, he abandons, for that reason, a man shall abandon his father and his mother and cleave to his wife. This is the word azav, to abandon. Okay? You have abandoned avich, your father, ve'emich, okay, and your mother. Okay? So this is masculine, your father and your mother, with just the kaf ending. And the kaf ending with the shavah right here is not pronounced. It's a silent shavah and just simply closes off this last syllable here. So imich or avich, so your father and your mother. May Jehovah restore your work. Yeshalem, Yehovah, pa olech. Yeshalem, Yehovah, pa olech. Shalem, and we see it right here too. These are, as you notice, they're very much related roots here. Shin Lamed Mem, Shin Lamed Mem. This one is the verbal form of shalom. Okay, now shalom means peace, and so in a sense it says may Jehovah, Yehovah, bring peace, make peace, and shalom means put things in order, set things up so things are all functioning well, things are in place, things are structured the way they should, so that you can live, a peaceful life, so that your life will, you know what you're going to do, you know why you're there, all of these things make for a peaceful life. And then if you're looking at here, Shalem, you're also looking at Yerushalayim. Okay, Yerushalayim, that's Jerusalem. Okay, the city of peace, and in a sense, yeah, city of peace, but a city that has things in good order. And then why would you want to say, okay, the city has things in good order? One of the most principal steps of having everything in order is a city that includes God within it. Okay, God is there. God uses that city as a place for expressing His will. Jerusalem. Okay, when that happened, wow, what a great place. However, if the people of Jerusalem start to ignore the Lord and start to follow other gods and not faithful to Him at all, well, Jerusalem will send destruction on that city. One of my archaeologist friends said, if you listed up all the cities in the world, which one's been smashed down and beat to pieces the most? It's Jerusalem. You go, oh, that's not a how you say, not a great not a great statistic, but yeah, when people are faithful, the Lord protects, and when not, yes, destruction will descend on the city, and it has happened to the city of Jerusalem. It has faced many times of destruction, and still, I find when I go there, I go with a lot of excitement. Oh, wow, what a great place. And then when I leave there, I'm very relieved. Why? Because really, I expect peace, but finding peace in Jerusalem is a difficult task. I just say that. You want to go there to find peace, but often peace is just not available among all the tensions and strife you find in a place like that. So among the different nationalities and among the Muslims and the Jews and even the Christians, and so often they don't really get along very well at all. So yeah, puts a lot of stress. Pastors who work there find themselves under a lot of stress in that place. So Yeshalem. May Jehovah restore your work. Okay, may Jehovah make it shalem. So Yehovah, this is Jehovah, of course, and we're going to just jump across here. This is the verbal form then of shalom. Shalom is peace, and Yeshalem, making peace, restoring peace, putting things back together so that there is peace. And then shalema, this is shalom, but you have a comments hey on the end, and we've seen this one. We'll just make some quick comparisons. Nikriya, that's the stranger, the state of being a stranger, and the Moabiyah and Adamah, earth as a place of red earth. Okay, so putting a hey at the end of a noun like here, it's a noun. Okay, shalama. And it's put in as reward, but also it's a state of peace, okay? Something that's peaceful, a place of peace. So shalama, a state of peacefulness. And that's what you have here with this particular noun. It's a noun. Here's a verb. This one noun. Shalom would also be a noun, but shalom, a little bit different. You kind of separated it out. Peace and then the state of peace. So this is a state of reward or state of peace. Yeshalem Yehovah Pa'olech. This Pa'olech is work, okay? And if you're going to get into profound studies or advanced studies, I would say, or any kind of studies really of Hebrew grammars and parsing of verbs, this particular word is the one that was used to sort of set up the structure for how you would understand how each letter would work in your verb. So so what it does in a sense is the pei here defines what happens in the first letter of the triliteral. The aleph defines what happens in the second one, and the lamed defines what happens in the third letter. So pa'al. The kaf here isn't part of the whole matter of diagramming out verbs. So pa'alech, that's the work, and then so you'll have something like aleph in pe. So if you have a three-letter root, and aleph is the first one, this is how it can work. Okay, just this is a quick example by yomer. Aleph mem resh. The aleph can function as part of the root, but it can also work as first person singular in that position. So aleph and pei can have two functions. Okay. Wow. I hope it isn't getting too complex here, but this is one way of separating out how grammars define positioning of certain letters in triliteral root. The grammars all work with a triliteral root. I often would rather prefer working with the biliteral root. In other words, I always look for the two key letters of the root because they often do a whole lot more work and are a much better way of sort of defining things in terms of, especially with the roots like lech or go and come and shuv and so forth, shav. All of those roots generally they just work a whole lot more with just two root letters. So to me, fine. I know that grammars have defined when back in the day when everything was all little card files, everything was organized on the basis of three-letter roots. So that was the easiest way to sort things out. That's why it happened. But the reality of the matter is quite often two letters will carry all the work. So sometimes all the way down to one letter with Natan, okay, or Yit, okay. So Tau and Tet, they can function with a single letter root. Lots of verbs operate with two-letter roots, and when you start including all three, okay, you got all three. So and then you can cover everything mostly. It's pretty rare. I really can't. Yeah, it does happen. You'll occasionally see roots that go all the way up to four letters, but often that fourth letter is somehow just added on to the three that are doing the major work. Okay, pa'alach, palech, paolech, your work. In other words, the word work defines how you're going to define your verbs. Betahi, and it shall be, should be. It's a horstative here for tahi. Utahi, mish, kur, tech. This is you have shalom, and you have mishkur tech, your reward. Okay, and then it shall be completely rewarded. Okay, mishkar sheker. This is part of the same. If you want to have a mnemonic for remembering it, is sheker and shekel. That's a shekel is the coin. So sheker is reward, something that you're receiving in payment. Okay, so this is what this particular root, and it's a mem on the front. The mem on the front here makes this into a full out noun, and so mishkuret techa, the reward of you, the full wages, the full whatever's coming to you comes from this word right here. Mishkuret tech. Shalom will be completely shalom. Okay, will it be a complete state of shalom, completeness of peace. Ba'at, you came. Ba'at, this is you've gotten so used to having Shabbat at the end of all of these letters. I was almost waiting to see Shabbat here, but it isn't there. Okay, Ba'at, you came. Leshahot, in order to seek refuge. Tachat kanafav, under his wings. Okay, you've come to receive refuge under his wings. Kanaf here, I think I talked about it pretty extensively, and I don't have to repeat all that. As to the wings, these are also the edges of the robe, and the edges of the robe have a lot of symbolism as to authority and as to coverage, as to protection, and so wings are also the edges of a person's robes that are symbolic of his power and his authority. So very important reference here to the wings. When you come under the wings of Jehovah, you're coming under his protection. We're not saying that Jehovah has wings. Sometimes when you see pictures of the angels, of course are always painted with wings, but the reason they have wings is they're there to protect you. Okay? They're there for coverage, like a hen covers their chicks. Jesus even used that imagery for Jerusalem. Now to the reading here, we got the two verses. Vayan, Boaz, Vayomer, Lach, Hugad, Hugad. This is Hofos of, and has been reported, has been expressed or informed. Okay, in person report. Le Hugad, Li, to me, Kol Asher Ashit, all that you have done, Kol Asher Ashit, Et Ha Motech, with, when you first read this, you think it's a direct object marker, and probably the ancient times they didn't separate out direct object markers from prepositions, but here this one is working a whole lot more like preposition, so let's consider it a preposition, just say with, okay, with Hamotech. Incidentally, if you're wondering how direct object markers work, they work like a little bit like this preposition. So back it up. You go, oh, direct object markers aren't noticed in the text, but yeah, in this case we're going to look at it as the function of a preposition. Okay, with et hamotech, with your mother-in-law, motecha. This is a suffix, the pronoun on the end of mot. So this is it's a motech. That this is a construct form of that, what that is, motech, mother-in-law. Achre, afterwards, after achre. Mot, died. Okay, mot. Ishech, to your husband. Okay. Va, ta'azbi, and you abandoned. Okay, ta'azbi. This is second person feminine prefix here, and then this is azav, is to abandon, and how you left, you abandoned. Avicha, your father. Emicha, and your mother. Be'eretz, and land. Okay, beautiful segolate here with a nice. Okay, it's got two accents, but I would consider this more of a Miel. So Eretz. Molad tech. Molad is of your birth, and the way we can see it here is it's a root that's built up from the base root of Yeled. Okay, so you got Yod Lamed Dalet. This is a vav here, and so you take Yod Dalet, which means to give birth or to engender, but to give birth as a verb, it's Yalad, when a woman gives birth, it's Yalad. Okay, you take that giving birth and you move it up, or you can move it up to being a noun of the birth. Okay, so this is, you take a holem in front, replaces the yod, the mem makes it into a noun, and then you have the construct form of the tau right here, and a birth of you. Okay, the birth of you, where you were born. Okay, birth of you. Telechi, and you walked. Okay, telech. We've seen that in the first chapter when Ruth is talking to Naomi. Where you walk, okay, telech, I will walk. We've already seen it in the second chapter again, and then where you walk. Okay, Boaz is telling her to be careful where you walk, and here it's you walked. Okay, you did walk. Okay, so again, exactly. If you're going to go through it, you notice that it's exactly the same sequence of letters, and probably even the same sequence of vowels, but if it's used in a different way. Some of these are. This is just simply past indicative of what happened. The one that previous version of this same verb is basically hortatory, don't walk, okay, and so forth. Based on the context, you're going to have the function of the verb here. Okay? Telechi, you have walked. El am, towards a people. Asher, which. Lo, yadat, which you did not know. Timol, before. Shelshom, and if you look at it, it really does look a whole lot like shalosh. Okay, Shelshom, like the third. And so there is sort of a sense of it behind there. In other words, 3 days before, day before yesterday, sort of thing. It's the kind of thing that because of the way this is structured, we can't say that that would be precisely 3 days before, but it's simply what it's saying here in the recent past. In other words, just a little while ago, just previously, just a little bit ago, this has all happened within recent memory, sort of thing. Okay, Timol Shil Shom. Okay, Shil Shom. Shalom Shal Yahuwah Pa'olech Ve'tehi Ash Kur Tech Shaloma Me'im Yahuwah Elohe Israel Asher Ba Bat Lehashot Tachat Kenafaf. This is and may God bring shalom, and this is verbal form of shalom, so yashalem, and means make it, bring it into a peaceful state, okay? Bring it into harmony, bring it into a beautiful state here. May the Lord put it all back together. In other words, what Boaz is saying here, you have gone through a time of things falling apart, things in a big mess, and now let's turn to Jehovah. And he's asking Jehovah. So in a sense, it's a prayer of Boaz here to Jehovah. May Jehovah set things in order. May Jehovah bring you shalom. May Jehovah restore your life. May Jehovah put things back. Things have fallen apart, and now we're asking for Jehovah to put it all back in a state of peace. Yeshalem. Yehovah. Pa olech. Your works, okay? May your work. That's a singular, okay. Okay, we got it here. Pa olech. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing as to why grammars were using this particular sequence of letters to describe how verbs are parsed, but it's just simply your work, okay? Pa olech. So this is, I think Blue Letter Bible puts this down as just as a comments hatuv, but it's actually normal comments. Okay, pa o. This is hatev comments. Hatev comments is a half comments. So you're going to be pronouncing it o. Okay, pa olech, your work, the things that are, and it's incidentally, it does reflect that here Boaz is asking Jehovah for structure, and he's saying your work, but your work that's structured, enough so that we can start defining or parsing Hebrew verbs with it. Okay, no, not that far, but anyway, pa'olech, okay, with your work, ve'tehi, and again hortatory, and it should be, utehi, and it will be, mishkurechtech, your reward. Your wages, okay, things that are coming to you, okay, things that sheker, that are of value to you, okay, mishkoretech, shalama, as in the state of peace, okay. Verb here, this one's a noun here, of the very, but based on the same root, okay. Yeshalem, shalamech, okay, shelamach, of your peacefulness, okay. This kind of ending is often put on if you're going to a state or condition of. So you got Adam, Adama, that's a state of the earth. You have Moab, Moabiyah, okay. So you have this sense of it's what it is, okay. Shalomah. Me'im, from with, okay. Here's something that Hebrew does, and the first few times you look at it, you're kind of really scratching your head what's happening. But Hebrew is quite willing to stack two prepositions on top of each other, and that's what we have here. From with, okay, from with Jehovah, okay. So me is a preposition of from, or distancing, or comparative, okay? Comparative. But here it's from. Im and with, okay. Immanuel, Im Yehovah. From with Jehovah, Elohe, construct form of Elohim, plural, God of Israel, Israel, Asher Ba, which you have come. Okay, you have come. This is a second person feminine. It will be suffix form of it. Okay, because this one shows the feminine end of it here. So Asher Ba, lehashot, in order to refuge. So when you have a verb, it's a verb here, to take refuge, find refuge. Lach and lamed have purpose here, so it's a preposition of purpose, with the purpose of to find refuge. Tachat, under. Tachat is underneath. We see that all the way in Genesis 1, the heavens under, the waters under the earth. Tachat, same word there. So well-known word is you have al, and then you got tachat as well. So tachat is underneath. Kenefach, under his wings. Very literally, wings. We have to understand this thing here in a sense of symbolic sense. And what we find in the development of the story, when Boaz extends the edge of his cloak over Ruth at the threshing floor, he's saying, okay, you're coming under my protection. You're coming under my wings, okay, under my protection. And so that's very symbolic of what's happening here. Ruth is coming under the protection of Jehovah. And that protection starts when you come under the protection of somebody who represents Jehovah. Boaz represents Jehovah, and with that representation, the wings that he spreads out, covers and protects others, those are very symbolic of the wings of God protecting his people. And so, yeah, very beautiful picture here, literary picture of what's happening here. Sometimes our lives unravel, we have difficulties, death in the family, loss of a job, something's gone to pieces, and our life does not have shalom. The shalah has gone from our life. Okay, we're missing or we're lacking in shelma. The state of peacefulness is not there. What do? We turn to Jehovah. We bring ourselves under the protection of his wings. We learn from our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He uses the very same image in terms of the hand covering the chicks. Jehovah covers his people, and we must be willing to turn to him for refuge. When life is tough, where do we turn? We turn to Jehovah, and we pray to him and say, Lord, come, protect me, cover me with your wings. Give me the protection that I need, and give me the peace that I also need in this life. Very beautiful picture. Turn to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because he is willing to bring you under his protection. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord bring you under his wings and give you the protection you need in this day. God bless.